Mother stepped inside for just minutes to grab juice for her 4-year-old daughter, returning to find only an empty sandbox and a silence that would haunt her for over a decade. Every possible lead was exhausted while her world remained frozen. In that terrible moment, then 12 years later, the mother searches for painkillers in her husband's shaving kit. But what she finds instead would lead her to uncover a truth so terrifying even seasoned investigators would later call it the most disturbing they'd encountered in decades of police work. The migraine hit Vera Caldwell like a sledgehammer, too. The temple, the kind that made the edges of her vision shimmer and blur with each heartbeat. She pressed her palms against her eye sockets, trying to counter the pressure building inside her skull as she stumbled from the bedroom toward the bathroom. The early morning light filtering through the blinds felt like needles piercing her retinas. Her bare feet found the cold tile of the bathroom floor, and she groped blindly for the medicine cabinet, muscle memory guiding her fingers to the metal handle. The mirror door swung open with a squeak that made her wheezy. Her searching hands found the familiar shapes of vitamin bottles, allergy medication, Marcus prescription antacids, but no ibuprofen. The white bottle that should have been there, that was always there, was gone. "Damn it, Marcus," she muttered, though speaking sent fresh waves of pain through her skull. He must have finished it and forgotten to buy more. Again, 20 years of marriage, and the man still couldn't remember to replace things when they ran out. She gripped the edge of the sink, debating whether she could make it to the kitchen where they kept a backup bottle. But then she remembered. Marcus always kept a travel pack of painkillers in his shaving kit. Something about being prepared for headaches at the office. The brown canvas toiletry bag sat on the bathroom counter where he'd left it after his shower. Yesterday, she unzipped it carefully, the sound unnaturally loud in the quiet morning. Her fingers pushed aside his electric razor, the silver metal still smelling faintly of his aftershave, a small bottle of cologne, Travel Seas shampoo, dental floss. She dug deeper, searching for the familiar rattle of a pill bottle. Her fingers touched cardboard instead, smooth medicinal packaging that felt wrong somehow. She pulled it out, squinting through the migraine haze to read the text. Plan B, 1 step. Emergency contraceptive. The words swam before her eyes, but their meaning was crystal clear. Through the packaging, she could see 2 blister packs underneath, pills visible in their sealed compartments. The migraine was forgotten. Vera stared at the package, her mind struggling to process what she was seeing. She turned it over, reading the instructions, the warnings, as if the text might suddenly change to something that made sense. Their sex life had been virtually non-existent for years. Not since Ruby. Neither of them could bear that kind of intimacy anymore. Not with the weight of their daughter's absence crushing them both. The few times they tried had ended with Vera in tears, seeing Ruby's face every time she closed her eyes. A receipt was tucked beneath the package. She unfolded it with trembling fingers. CVS Pharmacy. The date was from last week, Tuesday. Marcus had said he was working late Tuesday. Server maintenance that couldn't wait. Heavy footsteps on the stairs. Marcus returning from his morning jog. She could hear his labored breathing, the squeak of his running shoes on the hardwood. Vera stood frozen, the package still in her hand as he pushed open the bathroom door. He was still in his running shorts and a sweat-stained tank top with horizontal stripes, his face flushed from exertion. His eyes went immediately to what she was holding, and she watched his expression shift from confusion to something else, something sharp and dangerous. "Whose are these?" Her voice came out as a whisper, barely audible. She cleared her throat, tried again. "Marcus, whose pills are these?" The answer seemed obvious. Another woman, someone younger, someone who could give him what she couldn't anymore. Someone who didn't cry when he touched her, who didn't see their dead daughter's face in quiet moments. The betrayal cut deep, but it was almost a relief to have a reason for the distance between them. Marcus moved faster than she expected. He snatched the package from her hands, his face contorting with rage. "You paranoid bitch," he snarled, and the venom in his voice made her step backward. "Going through my things. This is what you do while I'm trying to keep myself healthy." "I was looking for ibuprofen." "Bullshit," his voice thundered in the small bathroom. "You're always looking for problems, always inventing things to be upset about because you can't accept that she's gone." He jabbed his finger at her face close, enough that she could smell the sweat on him. "Ruby is dead, Vera. She's been dead for 12 years, and you're so up about it that you're seeing betrayal everywhere." The words hit like physical blows. Vera felt her knees weaken. This wasn't the guilty, stammering she'd expected, the ashamed confession of an affair. This was pure volcanic fury. "You want to know what I think?" Marcus continued, his face inches from hers. "I think you're losing your goddamn mind. You see me with emergency contraception and immediately assume I'm cheating. Maybe I picked them up for a coworker. Maybe they're not even mine. But no, paranoid Vera has to make everything about her, about how I'm betraying her." His voice dropped to a cruel whisper. "Just like you betrayed Ruby by not watching her that day." The accusation knocked the breath from her lungs. It was the deepest cut he could make, the guilt she carried every day thrown in her face like acid. Marcus stormed past her toward the bedroom. "I've got errands to run. Hardware store. Try not to ransack the house while I'm gone." He yanked open dresser drawers, pulling out fresh clothes with violent movements. "Marcus, please. I just want to understand." He whirled on her again, and for a moment she thought he might hit her. His hand was raised, trembling with rage. "Understand this. You failed as a mother. You couldn't keep our daughter safe in our own backyard. And now you're trying to destroy what's left of our marriage because you can't live with yourself." He grabbed his wallet and keys from the nightstand, shoving past her in the doorway. His footsteps pounded down the stairs, and seconds later, the front door slammed with enough force to rattle the windows. Vera sank onto the bathroom floor, her back against the cool tile wall. The house fell silent, except for her ragged breathing and the distant sound of Marcus's truck roaring to life in the driveway. Her hands shook as she pressed them against her face, his words echoing in the emptiness. Vera pulled herself off. The bathroom floor, the house felt different now. Marcus's words reverberating through her skull like struck bells. The cruelty of his accusation that she'd failed Ruby, failed as a mother, cut deeper than any physical blow could have but beneath. The pain, something nagged at her, a discordant note in the symphony of his rage. She'd seen Marcus guilty before, the time he'd forgotten their anniversary, and she'd found the receipt for flowers hastily purchased at a gas station. The weekend he'd claimed to be at a work conference, but had gone fishing with his brother. Instead, when caught in those small marital lies, Marcus would go quiet, shoulders slumping, offering stammered apologies and promises to do better. He'd never attacked her, never turned vicious. This morning's explosion felt different, desperate, like a cornered animal lashing out. Vera found herself walking toward his home office, her bare feet silent on the hallway carpet. She paused at the threshold, hand on the doorknob. This room had always been Marcus' domain. He handled all their finances, paid the bills, managed investments. One less thing for you to worry about, he'd always said, especially after Ruby disappeared. She'd been grateful then, too shattered to care about mundane things like electric bills and mortgage payments. The door was unlocked. He'd left in such a hurry, slamming out of the house like the building was on fire. She pushed it open, afternoon sunlight streaming through the blinds to illuminate his sanctuary. The office was exactly what she expected. Meticulously organized, everything in its place. Marcus' desk dominated the room, its surface clear, except for a desktop calendar and a cup of pens. Filing cabinets lined one wall, each drawer labeled in his precise handwriting, year by year, category by category. The man who couldn't remember to buy ibuprofen kept financial records like a Fortune 500 accountant. She approached the desk slowly, as if it might bite. Crossing this line felt monumental, a betrayal of marital trust. But then she remembered. The Plan B pills, the pharmacy receipt from last week, his explosive reaction to being questioned. Her fingers found the handle of the top drawer. Credit card statements organized by month. The current statement lay on top, charges listed in neat columns. She scanned the familiar entries: Shell Station, Kroger, Dunkin' Donuts. Marcus' morning coffee addiction documented in $467 increments. Everything looked normal, mundane, until she spotted it. CVS Pharmacy, Millbrook, $63.19. Millbrook was 45 minutes away. They had 3 pharmacies within 10 minutes of their house. Why drive that far for anything? Vera pulled out more statements, spreading them across the desk surface like tarot cards, revealing a fortune. Her hands trembled as she traced the entries with her finger. The Millbrook Pharmacy appeared again and again, sometimes once a month, sometimes twice. The amounts varied: $47.82, $9,144, $55.23. She grabbed a pencil from Marcus. Cup. A circling each Millbrook charge. The repetition formed a pattern spanning months. Too much money for just contraceptives. Far too much. She dug deeper, pulling statements from previous years. The pattern held consistent. Millbrook, charges appearing like clockwork. But there was more. Target in Millbrook, $12,734. Kroger in Millbrook, $89.91. Always that same town, always substantial amounts. She started reading the itemized charges where available. Women's deodorant, the brand teenagers favored, feminine hygiene products, bottles. Of the fruity shampoo she remembered Ruby begging for when she was little, the kind that smelled like strawberries. Children's vitamins, more Plan B pills, purchased regularly. Her mind raced through possibilities. A mistress with a child, a secret family he'd maintained for years. It would explain the products, the distance to avoid recognition, his defensive rage this morning. But the time frame troubled her. These charges went back 3 years at least, long before their marriage had truly fractured. The locked drawer in Marcus's desk had always been forbidden territory. Important documents, he'd said, tax records that need to stay organized. She'd never questioned it, respecting his need for private space, just as he respected her craft room. But now, the key was exactly where she expected, taped beneath the desktop calendar. Marcus was predictable in his habits, secure in the knowledge that she'd never violate his trust. The tape came away easily, the small key warm in her palm. The drawer opened smoothly, revealing hanging files labeled with years. She pushed past old tax returns, their joint returns that she'd signed without reading, trusting Marcus to handle everything correctly. behind their passports and marriage certificate tucked at the very back. She found a manila folder that didn't match the others. No label, no year. Inside were utility bills, electric, water, gas, all for 1847 Elm Street in Millbrook, all showing regular usage, the amount suggesting full-time occupancy. Someone was living there, using power, running water, heating the space. The bills went back years. Vera's phone came out instinctively, camera clicking as she documented everything. Credit card statements, utility bills, the pharmacy charges circled in pencil. Evidence of what she didn't know yet, but every instinct screamed that something was terribly wrong. A secret rental property would require disclosure, tax documentation. This was something else, something Marcus had hidden completely. Combined with the pharmacy purchases, the feminine products, the Plan B pills, a picture was forming that made her stomach churn. She replaced everything exactly as she'd found it, even retaping the key beneath the calendar. Marcus Saturday. Errands always took hours. Hardware store, car wash, sometimes 9 holes of golf with his buddies. She had time to drive to Millbrook to see this address for herself. Whatever Marcus was hiding at 1847 Elm Street, she was going to find it. The GPS showed 43 minutes to Millbrook, a straight shot down Highway 72, before turning onto small estate. Routes. Vera gripped the steering wheel of her Honda, knuckles white, watching the familiar suburbs give way to scattered gas stations and empty fields. She'd made this drive before, years ago, when Ruby was 2 and they'd gone apple picking at an orchard past Millbrook. Marcus had complained the whole time about the distance, said there were perfectly good orchards closer to home. Now she understood why he knew the area so well. The CVS appeared first, anchoring a tired strip mall between a nail salon and a Chinese takeout place. Nothing special about it. Faded red letters, automatic doors, sale banners in the windows. But this was where Marcus bought those pills, where he'd been coming for years. According to the credit card statements, she slowed but didn't stop, following her phone's directions deeper into Millbrook. The neighborhoods deteriorated as she drove. Well-maintained colonials gave way to smaller houses with chain-link fences and boats on blocks and driveways. Elm Street was nearly at the town's edge, where residential petered out into industrial lots and woods. Her GPS announced the final turn onto a road that hadn't seen fresh asphalt in decades. The street was potholed like a war zone, forcing her to slow to a crawl. Houses sat far apart here, separated by overgrown lots and the occasional abandoned car. Some properties showed signs of life, laundry on lines, toys in yards. Others stood empty, windows dark, grass grown wild. The numbers were hard to read, mailboxes tilted or missing entirely. 1847 Elm Street squatted at the road's dead end, backed up against a tangle of woods. Vera's first thought was that it looked sick. The small ranch house, probably built in the 60s, judging by the low roofline and narrow windows, seemed to huddle in on itself. Yellow siding had faded to the color of old bones. The front porch sagged in the middle like a frown. But it was. The windows that made her skin crawl, every single one covered from inside. Heavy curtains on some, what looked like newspapers taped up on others. No hint of what lay beyond the glass. The yard told 2 different stories. Weeds had overtaken what might once have been flower beds growing waist-high in places. A rusty mailbox tilted at the curb. No name, no number visible. But the driveway was different. Fresh tire tracks cut through the gravel, multiple sets overlapping. Oil stains darkened the concrete near the closed garage door, the kind that came from a vehicle parked in the same spot repeatedly. Someone came here regularly. Vera pulled over 3 houses down, tucking her Honda behind an abandoned pickup truck that provided partial cover. She turned off the engine and sat watching, cataloging details. A new padlock on the chain-link gate, brass bright against the rust-spotted fence. No newspapers in the driveway. No mail overflowing the box. The roof looks sound. No missing shingles or obvious damage. Maintained, but hidden. A paradox that made her stomach clench. Were those security cameras under the eaves? She couldn't tell from this distance, but something about the house felt watchful, as if it were holding its breath, waiting. Movement caught her eye. An elderly woman in a housecoat walking a small terrier, making her slow way along the broken sidewalk. Vera made a quick decision, lowering her window as the woman approached. "Excuse me," she called out, manufacturing a friendly smile. "I'm sorry to bother you. I'm looking at properties in the area. My husband and I are thinking of moving. Do you know much about the neighborhood?" The woman's face lit up at the prospect of conversation. She shuffled closer, her dog sniffing at Vera's tires. "Oh honey, I've lived here 42 years. Used to be a nice area. Very quiet. Still is, mostly." Her eyes darted toward 1847. "You're not thinking of that one, are you? Is there something wrong with it?" "Strange place," the woman said, lowering her voice as if the house might hear. "Man comes and goes at all hours, mostly at night. Drives a dark pickup truck, one of those big ones. Been doing it for years now." Vera's heart hammered. "Have you ever talked to him?" "Tried once when he first started coming around. Wanted to be neighborly, you know, but he just stared at me until I went back inside. Never said a word, made me feel." She shivered despite the warm afternoon. Something's off about him. Always alone. Always locking up careful like. When did he start coming? Here. The woman's terrier tugged at its leash, eager to continue their walk. "Let's see. The property changed hands maybe 14, 15 years ago. Some foreign investor never saw him. The night visitor started showing up soon after. I called the city about the yard a few times, but nothing ever happens. Just the yard bothers you." The woman glanced again at the house, then leaned closer. "Sometimes I hear things late at night, machinery running like construction equipment, but in the morning, nothing. Looks different." And once she hesitated once. "I was walking Muffin here late, maybe midnight. She has a weak bladder, you know, and I saw his truck there. Got curious, tried to peek over the fence." "What did you see?" "Nothing, but he must have spotted me because suddenly he was at the gate, just standing there in the dark. Didn't say anything. Didn't move, just stared until I hurried home. I don't walk past there at night anymore." Vera's phone rang, shattering the moment. Marcus's name on the screen. She apologized to the woman who continued on with her dog, casting one more nervous glance at 1847. "Where are you?" Marcus' voice was tight, controlled. The rage from this morning had crystallized into something colder. "Grocery store," Vera lied, surprised at how smoothly it came out. "Picking up things for dinner." "Which store?" Too quick, too sharp. "The Kroger on Madison." The lie built itself. "They were out of your coffee at the one on 5th. Silence. She could hear him breathing, could picture him processing her words, checking them for deception. "I came home from my wallet," he said, finally. "Forgot it this morning. Oh well, I should be back soon. Good. We need to talk about this morning. The threat was subtle but unmistakable. I'll be home by 3. Okay, Vera. His voice dropped. Come straight home. The line went dead. She looked at the time, 1:47. If she left now, she could make it back before him, maintain the lie. But her eyes were drawn again to 1847, to its covered windows and watching presents. She raised her phone, snapping pictures quickly. The house, the fresh tire tracks, the new padlock. Evidence of what she wasn't sure, but Marcus had stood in this driveway, had used a key on that lock, had disappeared into whatever lay behind those covered windows. With one last look, she started her car and pulled away, leaving the sick house to its secrets. For now, Vera pulled into the garage.